Hey guys, we're doing something a little bit different today. Since we're all in isolation, I thought it would be fun to share something that I like to do when it feels like there's nothing to do, and that is board games. Now, we're not talking about playing board games. No, today we are talking about creating board games. Specifically, we're gonna talk about one of the pinnacles of my nerdiness when I decided to combine one of my favorite board games, Settlers of Catan, with my favorite fantasy realm, Middle-earth. Today, I'm presenting to you Settlers of Middle-earth. Now, even if you're unfamiliar with Catan, I'm hoping that you'll appreciate the nerdiness and the Tolkienness and the craftiness that went into this particular project. Step one was to create the game board. Using a thin piece of wood and math and angles and stuff like that, I cut the hexagonal tiles that made up the main playing surface of the game. I also used this wood as a border to serve as the sea pieces. Upon the sea pieces, there are two types of trading ships, Corsairs and Elves. Corsairs allowed you to trade 3 of any resource to get 1 of any other resource. Elves give a much more favorable rate at 2-to-1. Using a high-res map of Middle-earth and some Mod Podge, each of these hexes would represent an area of Middle-earth. Which areas? Well, to figure that out, I would have to figure out the resources. I wanted everything about this game to scream Middle-earth, so a slight tweaking of the resources was in order. In Settlers, there are 4 resources: lumber, grain, wool, ore, and brick. Lumber or wood would stay the same. You can get these from places like Fangorn or Mirkwood. Now, in place of grain, we have Lembas, which can be found in the Elven realms, such as Rivendell or Lorien. Rather than have wool or sheep, we have horses that we can gain from the cities of men, such as Edoras or Minas Tirith. In Catan, you can mine ore from mountainous regions. In Middle-earth, those dwellings belong to the dwarves, which is where you're most likely to find Mithril. Finally, in my biggest departure from the Catan game, I've traded brick for pipeweed. After all, how likely is it that you're gonna build a road through the Shire without your Hobbit friends taking a break for some old Toby? Now that you have your resources, you're gonna wanna build things with them. Now, roads are identical to the pieces that you'll find in Catan, but rather than settlements or houses, in Middle-earth, we're gonna have Hobbit holes. And if you save up enough resources, you can upgrade your Hobbit holes to the Dark Tower of Barad-dûr, complete with the Eye of Sauron. Side note, in retrospect, I would have preferred to make this a more book-accurate adaptation and not included the eye, but it does seem to help newbies get the reference a little bit easier. All of these pieces were easily purchased from a local craft store. I just had to do the painting and a little modifying. Finally, there's one last thing that you can cash in your resources for, and that is development cards. For a horse, some Lembas, and Mithril, you will get one of the following: a warrior card, a victory point card, or one of the progress cards. Progress cards, as in the Catan game, consist of Monopoly, Year of Plenty, and road building. Victory point cards are named for important items throughout Middle-earth, like the Silmarils, the Phial of Galadriel, Sting, the Arkenstone, and the Green Dragon. Finally, the warrior cards replace what would be known as knights or soldiers in Catan. I couldn't decide on just 14 and ended up making over 30, featuring some of the greatest characters Middle-earth has to offer. All we have to decide is which 14 to play with. Now, if you build up the largest army of warriors in the game, you are awarded with the largest army card in Catan. In Middle-earth, you get the card that says, "There is no such force." If you're the one to build the longest road, you get the "Road Goes Ever On and On" card, also giving you a victory point. Our last 2 pieces go hand in hand to start the game. In Catan, there's a piece called the Desert Piece, which offers no resources. There's only one such desolate place in Middle-earth, and that is Mordor. And who better to play the sneaking thief than our very own Gollum, which is a handy little chess piece that I bought off of eBay. Now we have everything we need to play a game of Settlers of Middle-earth. But what would any Lord of the Rings game be without the One Ring causing a little bit of havoc? And that's why I've created an optional bonus element to go along with this game. Real quick though, before we cover the One Ring bonus mode, if you like all things Tolkien, please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos from Nerd of the Rings, like my upcoming series on Thorin Oakenshield's Company of Dwarves, starting with Nori, Dori, and Ori. Now, for the One Ring bonus mode, at the beginning of the game, give Gollum his precious. Now, if you take a closer look at the dice, you'll notice that the one spot is the Eye of Sauron. If at any time during the game someone rolls double Eye of Sauron, they get to claim the One Ring. The One Ring instantly gives you a victory point, so if you're sitting at 9, you win the game. But beware, because the One Ring is treacherous. You have 2 more turns to win the game. If you do not, you have to give the ring back to Gollum, sacrificing the victory point you had earned from it, and you must give up half of your resource cards. So there you have it, folks. There is Settlers of Middle-earth. I hope you're all finding creative ways to spend your days, and if you have any ideas for getting crafty with Middle-earth, I'd love to hear them, so be sure to leave them in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.